All right, hey everybody, welcome back. It's Darren Tipton with Adrenaline Volleyball and our weekly coffee with the coaches. And today, lucky to talk with an old friend and head coach of Garretson Volleyball, Dennis Northrup. So, Coach, thanks for taking time to talk to me today.
Yeah, thank you. It's a beautiful day to sit outside on the front steps of my man cave and just talk to Darren Tipton, I guess.
Yeah, well, we can talk about things forever, but today we're going to focus on your volleyball squad, and we know coming off a tough 5-set loss last night at Coleman Egan, but rolling in number 2 in your region right now. And just tell us, please, talk about your team, talk about your seniors, talk about your squad, and inform everybody a little bit, who's making plays for Garretson Volleyball this year.
Well, I got a squad of 16 girls, and I really believe that every single one of them can play. I mean, I'm not afraid to put them in at any part of a match or part of a season, and I'm led with 6 seniors. Got a senior setter, Peyton Hove. She does a nice job of running everything. We've been trying to sort things out all season. Finally, I got her in the first rotation, so she starts serving with me. I got a middle named Lizzie Olson, and she's going to USF to play basketball. She's a big basketball player. Spent a lot of time playing basketball, kind of one of those kids that plays volleyball because it's what you do in a small school. And so I've been working a lot at changing a lot of stuff that she does. We're still working on it. She broke her wrist the very first day of practice. Her sister and her were driving their UTV into the garage, and she wasn't paying attention. Her arm was between the wall of the garage and the UTV and broke her wrist. So she really hasn't played. She's been back for about 3 weeks now, so she's still working things out. Kennedy Buckenberg, outside hitter, big strong girl. She can hit it with the best of them. She's kind of looking for a place to play in college, and I'm pretty sure she can play. Got her playing all the way around. She's kind of the heart and soul. She's kind of taking charge out there. I get her on the floor as much as I can, keep her out there. She does it all. She can serve, pass. And just a leader and a kid. You know how chemistry is in volleyball. Yep. She just wanted to kind of keeps things together along with my senior setter. Let's see. I got a Madden Lardy. She plays a substitute role. She comes in, plays outside, right side. Let's see. Who's my other senior? So I got a senior by the name of Lauren Hesh. Lauren's played my libero the last year and a half or so. I moved her to a middle because that's what she played when she moved here. Because I had Lizzie was out, and so we rotated her to the middle. And then she takes wild, crazy swings, not really very traditional, but she pulled something in her shoulder and her back. So I lost her for about a month. And so I got her back, and last night was the first time that she served again, and she kind of got us on a roll back there. Another senior, you just really can't have enough seniors on the floor, it seems like. Yeah. My juniors, we run a 6-2, so my second setter is Jaylen Benson. Super athletic kid. Really, a lot of the problem with this team is they're way too nice of kids, and they don't deal with me very good a lot of the time. And so I got Jaylen. I got a girl by the name of Lily Ranshaw, probably one of the most athletic kids I've ever seen in my life. I'm not exaggerating. She can play it all. She does it all. She serves. She doesn't set, of course, but she can play defense, and she's just got a great future ahead of her if she wants to play volleyball. And I think some coaches should be really looking her way. She's about 5'9", and seriously, I can't wait to get her in the track season because I'm coaching the high jumpers here, and I just know she's got that kind of talent. You remember old Blondie in Aberdeen, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got a lot of the same similarities, probably not the flexibility, but she can play. Let's see, who else do I have? I am actually playing a freshman. I got 2 twins, Lexi and Allie Gavaretsky, and they are players. They play, I don't remember if it's Pentagon or Kairos. And so volleyball is their life, and they can do it all. I mean, seriously, they do it all, and they're aggressive. And so we moved her into that libero role. I'm still kind of trying to mesh, how it takes a while for teams or kids to know who they're playing next to and beside and all that good stuff. My second, I got a couple sophomores, a kid by the name of Logan Bly,
Yep.
and I got her playing right side, and I tried to convince her last year that she could go anywhere in the world if she wanted to be a setter. She's about 5'11". She's going to be another kid that I'm going to convince to high jump for me. She's got great ups. She can hit the ball with the best of them. Still working on a lot of the little things with her, a lot of play defense and get in the right position. So I have her hit out or serve out of the back row, and then she plays setter for me for one rotation until I can move my other 6'2" formation back in. I got another kid, Matea Egan, 5'11", kid, senior, big, strong, put her on the right side. She just hits the ball in places that, she doesn't really hit it hard, but she just has a knack for finding holes. And so she, is another role player, 6'2", comes in that second rotation. I got a kid by the name of Leah Leedy. Right now she's out for the second time. Her dad got the COVID. Someone else in her family had it earlier, so she's basically been here. She was here for about a month. We lost her for 3 weeks. She's due to come back on November 2nd. So then I got a sister to Lizzie Olson, a younger sister, a freshman, Sid. She's a lefty on the right side, and the kid's going to be a player. She can get up and she can hit, and she's aggressive and she wants to get better every day. Got a center, sister to Peyton Hove. Her name is Grace Hove. A little taller than Peyton. Peyton's about 5'5", 5'6", and so she's going to roll. She's going to fit right into that role when Peyton graduates this year. Super nice kid, just way too quiet, and that's kind of the MO for these kids. They just aren't aggressive. When you don't really understand the culture of how you gotta actually be mean to get stuff done on a volleyball court, and I'm working on that meanness, and I'm pretty good at getting them focused on meanness.
Well, Coach, we talked before, and we just talked about the culture now. Your second year, you guys had a great first season, but just talk about instilling a winning tradition, a winning mindset. What's that process been like the last 2 years, and especially with really not having any kind of an off season, just trying to instill a volleyball mentality in at Garretson.
Well, as a coach, the first thing you try to do is you instill that work ethic in them.
Right.
And we have daily lessons on, life just isn't fair, and life is not how it's always going to be. It's going to be hard at times, and you're going to have to, if you can figure out the 4-letter word called work, you can go anywhere in this world.
Right.
And so these kids come into practice every day and they work their butt off. I've been at volleyball. This is my 29th year. And I just have a good system, I feel. I just believe it's not anything that complicated. We don't run fancy stuff. But you know what? If I tell you to go to base is right here. I put a dot on the floor, and if you're not there, I have the right to chew your butt. You got to do your job. You got to be where you're supposed to be. And that's just kind of what we try to do every day in practice. Actually, I got an assistant coach this year from Flandreau head coach. Her name is Lauren Stotterow. She was Lauren McCafferty. You might remember her.
Absolutely.
So Lauren has just been she's just a ray of sunshine for me every day. She's the one that under my breath I'm talking to on the bench all the time.
Yep.
I got an assistant coach, and Lauren's just volunteering this year. She's just giving of her time. She just got married this fall, and she teaches 4th grade in Garretson, and she's probably, she's going to make this volleyball program better. She knows volleyball. She played it her whole life, and that's her love and passion. And she's really excited. She said every day I come to volleyball practice, and it's like just a ray of sunshine, because it was just hard where she was at in Flandreau last year. Buying into, it's kind of a basketball town in Flandreau, and you know how it is. You got basketball teams and you got volleyball teams, and it's not always that both of them are good,
Right.
So anyway, and then my assistant coach, Kelsey Buckles, she's got 3 little boys that are my managers, and they just drive us all crazy all the time. And Kelsey goes 100 mile an hour, and she's got all kinds of things going on, and so we're trying to get everything in the right slot still.
What have you seen? What have you seen the difference between your two? You talk about instilling that work ethic. You talk about your staff, and it sounds like I mean, having the buy-in, obviously with the record, and we know you and I have talked several times about how important chemistry is, especially at the end of the season. And sometimes it's the teams that get along the best that go farther in the postseason than maybe are the most talented. But what's been the difference between year one and year two with your program now?
Well, we just really didn't have basic skills. I mean, I want you to pass with your arms straight and simple. I don't want a lot of movement. I mean, just the really, really basic stuff. We do a 3-step approach. We do several footwork steps with our blocking. This is where I want you on defense. So all that stuff is just where it needs to be. And in order for us to get any defense done, we got to get a block closed. We got just tooled last night blocking. I think at times we'd have been better off if we wouldn't have touched the ball last night. It was just one of those nights blocking. And so those are things that we're just working on. You know, you get a couple sophomores in there and a freshman in there, and it just takes time for them to figure out, you know, you got all the basic stuff, but you have to get there and you got to do it when the time is right. And you know, we had senior night last night and we just started out flat. And we lost the first 2 games and we roared back. I mean, to tell you what, it was like, and it was a volleyball gymnasium that was packed. I mean, probably really a great spreader to the COVID or whatever, but it was hot in there. There was a lot of people. There was a lot of noise. It was great volleyball atmosphere. Those kids haven't been in those pressure situations. And so actually it was a great match for us to have at this time. You know, here, get this feeling of losing right now. You can't do it again, you know.
Right. Well, in talking about that going in, you know, the postseason, I'm guessing you're going to say we keep working on the same things we've been working on, but are there certain things you really want to focus on? You've been through, like I said, 20 plus postseasons as a coach. You understand what it takes. Are you focusing on 1 or 2 things, or what is your focus with the team to get them where you want them to be, which I'm guessing is in Watertown in a few weeks?
Well, you know, I really talk to these kids individually now. You know, we put all the basic stuff in, but you got to fix the techniques. I mean, you got to know this is where you are, and this is what your reads are, and you can't be looking at anything else because you can't get it done unless you're looking at the right stuff. So a lot of, like, my setters got to work on their right side defense. They got to work on spreading the ball around. They got to know, you know, if we hit 3 balls on the left side, it's the perfect time to flip it back to that middle or that right side, and you get a kill with no block out there. And we're still working on those little things there.
Right.
My libero, of course, she's a freshman. I'm probably going to rotate. I might rotate my senior back in there just because she's been there, you know, done that kind of thing, and a little more. But, you know, my libero, well, the one I'm going to rotate back in, she came in last night for the first time in a month, second time in a month. And she came up and apologized to me before the match saying, you know what, Coach, I'm sorry how bad I was last night. And she came in last night and she just did a phenomenal job.
Right.
And so, you know, it's just, you know, everybody's got to figure out you got to do your job. And there's no second chances at this stuff right now. So we got to just keep pushing and keep pushing.
Well, and we look, you know, honestly, as far as depth of a class, you know, I think there's probably more depth in Class A this year, you know, maybe than any other class, where there's 6 or so teams that can battle, you know, and on any given night. Do you think your team or have they shown the consistency to put together 3 or 4 good matches in a row? Is that something that's in them? Is that something they're trying to learn? Can they play consistently at a high level yet?
Well, the thing with these girls is they have not been there and done that.
Right.
You know, and that's a big thing. You know, if you go into that match knowing you're going to win, you're going to walk on the floor with that swagger. The other team knows, and I can tell in warm-ups, you know.
Right.
We've been around it long enough. You can just tell if a team is ready to play, and you can sense kids that are maybe feeling a little stress or a little tightness or whatever, but you just got to know there's no tomorrow. You just got to go play, and you know, if you can't have fun doing this whole thing, then there's not really a lot of point in doing it. Right.
Well, and you talk about with, you know, I'm sure, you know, yeah, the tough, and you talk about the meanness and stuff, but it sounds like a group that's a close group. It sounds like a group that enjoys playing together. You know, are they? they talk about like last night after a tough loss to a great, a very good Coleman Egan team. They talk about, okay, hey, how did they rebound? How did it seem? Or were they really down in the dumps? What's their mentality like after a tough loss like that?
Well, you know what? They didn't like to lose.
Right.
And you know what? I didn't give them any sympathy at the end of that match. I mean,
Right.
That's just how it is. That's how I am. I don't sugarcoat stuff if you haven't figured that out about me. I just tell it like it is. And these kids, I was in Aberdeen for 12 years, Hot Springs for 15.
Yep.
And you just can't beat the small school atmosphere. These kids grow up together. I mean, Aberdeen Central, some of those kids don't even see each other during the course of the day.
Right.
So they don't get that closeness. Everybody in the town they got a cousin that's related to them somewhere, or they're related to everybody else. That's just how it is.
Right.
It's the culture of a small school.
What do you, as it looks like right now, it went in, it would look like a matchup with Baltic if things played out. And you guys played those guys earlier in the year, right? I think really early, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like our third or fourth match somewhere in there.
Yeah, and so a team that, obviously you're familiar with. But what biggest thing to end with Garretson, your team needs to do what in the postseason to advance to Watertown?
Well, that 2 seed is pretty big in that you don't have to play that first round match.
Right.
And so, Baltic's going to have to get by a Tri-Valley or one of those other schools first of all, which sometimes that's an advantage to get to play. But, we get to host it, in Garretson. That's a big thing. That first match we played, the world is different now.
Yep.
I've got like 3 different girls that are playing now that weren't even on the roster at that time. So, and I'm sure they're the same way. It's just like, we just got to do the basic stuff better than the other team. Just eliminate your errors and just keep pushing.
Right. And then is there any special, you guys modify, I suppose everybody's lucky to get day to day, I don't know if you're practicing or not practicing, I suppose this year, but do you tweak anything? Do you, your workouts, your practice schedules, your amount of time, anything different, or do you keep it status quo, as you've said a few times, all the way through the postseason?
Well, this time of year, probably rest is maybe as valuable as anything that you can do as far as, your conditioning and stuff. Just make sure the kids are eating right and getting sleep and staying away from everybody else, And with the COVID deal, it's just changed everything. I had a girl that went and saw her boyfriend for 2 hours, ended up missing 10 days of volleyball.
Right.
And so, I preach, boys are poison. Leave them alone. Get away from them during the volleyball season. You shouldn't have them in the first place, those kinds of things. But, you just keep pushing. That's all you can do. I remember having a team that I went in number 1 seed, and we kind of thought, let's just not get hurt. And we get upset in the first round. So you just don't really know what's right exactly for this team, but I just go with my gut on this and just keep pushing.
Awesome, bud. Well, hey, I appreciate your time for sure, and thank you for letting us know a little bit, more about your squad that's had a great year. We're cheering for you in the postseason, and hopefully we'll get to see you in a few weeks in Watertown. All right, bud? Okay, hey everybody, back again with this extended edition this week of Coffee with the Coaches as we roll into the end of the regular season in Class B, and we are joined by one of our favorite coaches to work with and just love their program, but Marley Schuyler from Faulkton area. Mallory, thanks for joining us again, and how are you?
I'm good. How have you guys been?
Good. Well, we really want to know, first of all, the baby's not a baby anymore, but how's the baby doing?
He's doing good. He's kind of becoming stubborn and likes to get into trouble a little bit. So I think I'm going to have my hands full.
That's good. Well, we hope you're wearing some of that adrenaline gear that we're sending, but I hope to be able to see him in a couple weeks. So anyway, I guess we should talk a little bit about volleyball and your program and Faulkton coming off a couple state tournaments, state runner-up last year, new look to the squad this year. What's the season been like? Not so much with adjustments, but like your guys' play. Just give us a quick recap on your season so far.
We started out really strong, played quite a few games played well and had quite a few wins. And then we got to about the middle of our season, and we had a week where we just didn't get a win that whole week, and kind of brought us down a little bit. But after that, they came back, and they've been playing strong since then. We've matched up well against like Rock Collie. We played well against Warner. Just didn't pull away with the win, but overall, we're right back where we want to be as we're heading towards the postseason. So,
and talk about this year's team a little bit, and we've always touched on, Peyton seems like she's been playing for about 15 years now, but along with her, just a strong senior class, and just talk about some of your seniors that have played in some really big games the last couple of years.
Yeah, Peyton, everybody kind of hears about her quite often, and she's still carrying her role well. We have Taylor Macdevis. She was a middle for us last year as well, and she's really stepped up into her role this year. Last year we had Brooke, who was pretty dominant at the net, get lots of touches, all of that. Taylor's really stepped into that role. She's getting touches on almost every ball, and swinging really well for us as well. Our senior setter, Morgan Gutenkopf, she played for us last year as well. She's back again and still setting for us. She's been doing a good job of, getting the ball to people and mixing it up so people can't just key in on Peyton, And then we have Kayla Sen. She was our opposite hitter. She's really coming alive this year. She's been working on her quicks. She's gotten a lot faster. And quicker arm swing. So she's pulling out a few kills for us on that right side. And then we have some other seniors who didn't have like a significant role last year, but are stepping up really well this year. With Molly Cohen, she's our other right side. And then we also have Allie Cunningham, who's stepped into our libero role.
Right, which was a huge spot for you guys. Your defense was so good last year, in that state tournament run. But I want to touch on Macdevis because you guys did so well at the net, and she teamed up. Those guys were kind of double trouble for you. You had two great middles. How has her game progressed on the defensive end this year? Is she getting the same amount of touches as last year? Has that improved?
I actually think it's improved. Before we had a big week with like a Northwestern, a tough Linton, North Dakota team, Ipswich. We talked a lot about blocking and being quicker and reading it faster and better to get more touches. And ever since we've started focusing on that more, she's getting touches often, almost every ball. I really think it's improved since the beginning of the season, and even last year. I mean, she's kind of just everywhere, and she's gotten a lot quicker about it. Doesn't miss hardly any blocks. So
one thing. Sorry, Coach. One thing we've noticed as we talk about the Northeast part of the state, and everybody knows how good the level of play is, the tough schedule you guys play. But one thing I've noticed is, like the height, Ipswich has height. Northwestern has more height than they've ever had. You go against a lot of teams that play some really good defense at the net, where maybe in years past, teams are playing a lot shorter lineups. There's some really good net play on your guys' schedule and the teams you see, right?
Yes, absolutely. We've played a lot of teams that were big at the net, and maybe not even just tall, but just very, very good at getting touches and blocks. And we've had to switch up our hitting and some of that to, kind of go around that and not let that be something that stops us. So there's a lot of very good athletes in our part of the state.
You talk a little bit because we talked about Isabel, moving her from, it was played, I think, a setter, position last year, moving her to outside. How's that transition gone?
It was a great transition. I think she's really stepped into the role well. She's always kind of had that go get 'em attitude. I mean, she puts a lot of work into everything she does, and she's gone out there and done well. I mean, she gets a kill if we need it, but she's also keeping the ball in play and, putting down tough swings to get the other team out of system. So she's moved well.
So we go through the rest of your roster. Any other underclassmen? You have that large senior class, but any other classmen other than Isabel maybe playing significant roles for you guys right now?
Yes, our other middle is a junior as well, Shayna Heitman.
Yep.
She's done a really nice job at the net. She doesn't swing as often as some of our other girls, but still has done a good job. She gets it blocked when we need it. Hustles, is running good routes. And then our other underclassmen is all defensive. So we have a couple other juniors, Sydney Campbell and Cameron Dieter, that play back row for us.
Okay.
And they've done a good job too. We've had to work on it a little bit, but they're stepping into the role well. And for first year, not playing varsity before, it's kind of a big role to fill. So.
Talk about mentality, because you guys now have gone from, wanting to make, we still remember talking a couple of years ago when we made that first state tournament, right? And then the first state tournament and going there and actually leaving a little bit disappointed and then making the run last year. How is the program different now than maybe it was 4 years ago? Like, do these girls... I mean, are they kind of flipping a switch? Like, okay, it's postseason. We know what's coming. Are they nervous because maybe some of them haven't played before? What's the program? How is it different than maybe it was 3-4 years ago?
I would say it's different because our girls have more of a we can actually do it kind of attitude. They come into the postseason and they're like, no, we're going to just beat these teams and make it. Compared to, oh my gosh, I hope we get a win. They're not as scared. Now, they always have nerves. I mean, I feel like everybody gets nervous before big things and big games, but they're just a lot stronger, a lot more confident about what they can do and the kind of team that they are.
Right. Well, we talked last year. One thing we always noticed, and from camp and SummerSlam, and then especially the state tournament, that senior class that left last year, very vocal, positive leadership. Who, do you have vocal leaders this year? Or are you guys more laid back? Who's taken over those reins? Because you had some, really positive, but yet also very vocal seniors that graduated last year.
We're a little more laid back this year. Our girls still get excited. They still have fun, all of that, but they're just not quite as animated in a sense. But I would say Peyton has really kind of taken on that role of picking people up and keeping them going. But all of our seniors have done a good job of, saying the right thing when they need to and picking people up and cheering them on and keeping us going. So it's kind of a group effort. It's definitely a different look than it was last year, but they still do it when they need to kind of keep us going.
So you guys have one match left tomorrow night, and are on Friday, right? Yeah. So
on Friday.
Tomorrow, I guess this will air on Saturday, but you wrap that up, you get your pairings. Regions start next week. What are you doing, if anything, different? I guess the next 4 or 5 days, so you're ready for Tuesday.
Well, I want us to focus a lot on our defense. I think we have a strong offense, and I think the times when we are getting caught up or maybe getting into a rut, it comes more from our defensive side. Maybe not getting a pass, or maybe missing a dig, or not hitting well out of an out-of-system ball, or some of those things. So moving forwards, we're focusing a lot on our defense to keep it so that we can play our offense. Our offense is there. I just think that we need to keep working on our defense so it's at its strongest point.
Is it a communication thing that needs to improve? Is it just a positioning thing? What would be the main focus of when you say improving your defense?
I would say more so a communication thing. I think that sometimes we are unsure of maybe who's going to grab that ball or who's going to get it. And we're just not talking enough in order to make sure that we are picking up all that we need to grab. So
how does the team feel? Is that, I'm looking at your schedule right now, and it's, probably a lot of teams that we're going to see in the state tournament. So when, even though you come in with 5 losses, it's, to those rivals in your area, and it's, it's 1, 2, 3 ranked teams in the state, but the girls, because they've been in those matches and been a part of that atmosphere, they'd look and say, hey, if we go against a Warner again, we want to play an Ipswich again if they would get there. Or, is it like, hey, we didn't play our best volleyball? Is it, hey, we know those guys, we played against them a lot, there would be no fear? Or are they like, ooh, we hope we avoid them? What do they look at when they look at that? You had that week where it was Ipswich, Northwestern, then you talked about Linton. That's a tough week, but it's also like a potential state tournament lineup. How do they look at possibly facing one of those teams if they would make it to the state tournament?
Like I said before, I think there would always be nerves, but I think they would be excited to match up with them again. Losing to some of those teams, it's frustrating, but it kind of gives you an extra kick that, you want to play them again, and you want to prove that you can compete with them and you can beat them, and just be there and play strong against them. So that week was tough on us, and I didn't think that our girls played bad. We just couldn't come away with the win. So I think they'd be pretty excited to match up against some of them again and have another shot at it.
Right. Well, and if you get to where you're wanting to go, I'm guessing a few of those teams are going to be there as well. If I had to, the brackets
I would
now.
put money on that.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance. We could probably just hold it right there in, somewhere on 281 there. Vibe you guys, but that's the way. And you guys talked about last year getting over that hump of having that big program win. Knocking off Chester, getting on a roll, and it was like after you got that opening round win, it was so much more confidence that second night. And it's all it takes is putting that one night together, because when I look through with we talk about Ipswich, talk about Warner. And then throw you guys into the mix, or Chester into the mix. It kind of reminds me a lot of Double A, because the margin of error is really thin. There's 4 or 5 teams that are very probably close in ability, and it really is going to come down to eliminating those mistakes and defensively. But what is something about this team? Are they loose? We talked about that. Are they always laid back? Are they more businesslike? I'm guessing I know the answer, but are they kind of goofballs? Are they businesslike? What's just the overall attitude of the squad?
They're very businesslike when it comes to game time. They can put on a serious face and they can get to work and work hard. But I love on the sidelines and in practice and all that. They're goofballs. They're all about having fun and making jokes and laughing. And I think they make a TikTok before every game. They're just all about doing things together and enjoying the moment. And I really enjoy that about them. It makes the whole time so much of a better experience.
Well, I see you guys are one of those teams where, as they post on their Instagram, all of your different dress-up days for practice. So are we gonna get a Halloween costume practice, or?
I wouldn't doubt it, because we do that almost every year, and I think last year we had a whoopee cushion at practice. The other day they did like stupid day or something like that, and Peyton of all people comes in a robe, like a swim cap on and some goggles, and I'm like, you're not practicing like that, are you? And she went full board, and then about halfway through had to get some of that off, but it was super funny. I mean, they have some pretty good dress up days, and they go hard. They don't disappoint. That's for sure.
I know we look forward to seeing their posts and all the different themes, and I love the fact that they have that much fun playing together. You've kind of said that every year. It's been a staple of your program, and it just makes it fun to cheer for kids like that. So, with that, we thank you for your time. They got a lot planned, and everything's going to come fast and furious here the next couple weeks. But we number one, as we've been saying to everybody, stay healthy, stay safe. I know you got a great crew, and you're hoping you have quite a few more matches left in your season. So hopefully we get a chance to talk with you more in Huron in a couple weeks, okay?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Mallory.
Yep, you too.
See ya. Bye-bye. Okay, hey, we're back with our second coach this week for Coffee with the Coaches, and we are joined by Tina Bergen, second-year head coach in Brookings. And, Coach, good weekend last weekend for you, and team's on a roll a little bit.
Yeah, it was a good, strong weekend. It's always a long trip when you head out west, and then with the weather conditions, I think everybody was a little on edge of what we were going to have once we got out there. But the girls showed up ready to compete and did so. So we were pleased for the most part for our tournament experience.
So talk about the team a little bit. Look at your schedule. The last really 3 weeks been some pretty good volleyball and on quite a roll. But is it a young team? Is it an experienced team? Tell everybody, just about your roster a little bit.
Sure. So talking about our experiences over the last 3 weeks, we've had 13 matches in 3. So we've been flying. 2 of those are rescheduled matches that weren't originally scheduled that got changed due to other school situations and just Minnesota, per se, not having a season. But the team that we have coming back, we have some girls with varsity experience that are returning for us, but as the unit and the group that we have out there, we had several new people that were out on the court just trying to find their roles in different spots. Yeah. So that always takes the learning curve to be able to get to where you need to be. So like I said, we do have girls with returning varsity experience, but I still considered us young in the beginning of the year when we got going. And as things are progressing, I think the girls have settled in more to their roles. We've cut down on some of those unforced errors and started making adjustments to where we're playing fluid together as a team. We did have a few athletes that were also playing 2 sports at the same time. So now that has ended, that has kind of assisted us along the way too, I believe.
Oh, yeah. And so do you, and we've talked to everybody this year with the big C word of not having a lot of a summer. You feel like, was it rocky right away just because girls hadn't played a ton of volleyball, or was it getting them back in shape, or just keeping them healthy, or what were some of the challenges at the beginning of the season that you guys had?
Yeah, so we go back to the beginning of the season. You almost just want to fix it, flush it, forget about it.
Yeah.
Only because it was a long summer, and I think most every coach in the state kind of felt those same frustrations and where you were at. So the entire summer we were allowed basically just to do one-on-one drills in June, and then in July we got together and could have no more than 12 on a court, but we were certainly not allowed at that point to actually be playing a game. So we didn't even get into blocking until August 13th when our season started. At least I think that was the day we started. So that was definitely something that, you're not able to scrimmage, you're not able to see people where you'd like them to be, and you lose 4 seniors and you're trying to find out who's going to fit the best role where. So we kind of played around with that a little in the beginning. I know some teams did go on to do some tournaments and so forth, but we were stuck at home and trying to make the best of it or where we could. So then when you talk about conditioning and the level of where they're at, I had an athlete say to me, you're kind of easy on us in the beginning of the year. And I'm like, okay, well, it wasn't on purpose by any means, but it was on purpose. So, yeah. That was something our training staff and I had visited about numerous times, and the last thing we wanted is to start off with a bunch of injuries in the beginning of the season. So I don't feel like our level of conditioning and our level normal, typical play was at the level by any means where we were at the beginning of the year. And as time has gone on, we've picked that up, obviously. And then when you have such a tough, grueling schedule, you're just playing and hard practicing. But there was a down point at one part during our season that we were conditioning pretty hard. Their tune had changed drastically from how we potentially started the year. But I feel like at this point in the season, everybody should be at that point to condition and be where you need to be at this time. So
Right.
Challenges along the ways, but I guess those challenges always build resiliency and adversity. And so if we can sit and get over that, and that's why I say fix the bush and forget about it, we're going to have more success than to stew and worry about where we've been.
So looking back kind of at your schedule, you guys had a run early, and like you talked about, it looks like it was right about Labor Day was, that you had the heart of the ESD all in a week with Huron, Brandon Valley, Watertown, O'Gorman. I mean, that was a run that probably was tough, especially early in the season. But now coming back the week where you had, really big 5-set win at Madison, who's playing, has been playing really, really well, and then follow that up with Lincoln, and then the trip out west where you win 4 out of 5. Talk about maybe just specifically the level of play the last couple of weeks. What has improved or gotten you guys over the hump with some big wins?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing for us as a team is we've cut down on unforced errors. We still have a big learning curve there, and you know that with volleyball, anything that you do is the team that makes the least amount of errors.
Right.
It's kind of where you're at. So in regards to that, I feel like they've started to cut down on things that we have control over, and that's been a good change. Our serve receive has improved tremendously as well. That was a big component that we spent a lot of time on. And then our serving, I feel like we're serving aggressively, but yet we're having that better percentage of where we need our girls to be. So yeah, competitively speaking, the girls are starting to identify things that we can control, and then when we were playing against those opponents that are more evenly matched, I think at this part of our schedule, then when you can cut down on your unforced errors, you're just going to take it to a whole nother level.
Right. And talk about team, like confidence wise, can you see it growing? Can you see it building? Obviously winning helps, but experience helps. Is it a more confident team than maybe you had back in August? Is it a closer team? Just talk about the chemistry of your squad a little bit. Sorry.
So when you talk about chemistry and you talk about where we've been as a team, I'm really proud of the girls. I feel like when we're out on the court right now, I'm starting to see that more and more and more. I think every coach wants their team to just find that unity when you're playing, and it just displays and it shows when they're playing. You can watch it in their emotions and their feelings and their like, I got your back and I'm here for you type attitude.
Yeah.
And in regards with adversity and, with where the team has been, I think it's really taught us resiliency. And I think the girls are finally at a point where we're starting to recognize that we have that strong ability to bounce back and not get caught into looking at the scoreboard and just go out there and compete. And that's been the focus the last month, is just really saying we're going to compete, we're going to come out and do what we can control, and work together and work hard and have a defensive mind. And I always say, defense is an attitude, and the girls are definitely working to show that. And like I say, I'm proud of their efforts, and that's what our goal is. If we can leave the court every time and say that we've given everything we have, and there's going to be days that you just can't get a ball to fly where you need it to fall.
Right.
There's going to be days it's just like in basketball, same kind of thing. You might shoot a free throw and you've tried everything under your power, and it's like a big old X over the top of it.
Yeah.
And that's in volleyball too. Sometimes there are just times you're just off. But I feel as a group that they're not overcome by nerves anymore, and that they're starting to just come out and play and compete and work hard, and that's what we want every day.
That's awesome. And then do you think that I was going to ask, your seniors, is it 4 seniors on the team? Is it kind of a group leadership effort? Do you have a vocal leader? Are there a couple of them? Or what is it, more of a rah-rah team? Is it a business-like team? You just tell us a little bit about the mentality of your squad.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a kind of a split. We have some that are very vocal, and they just talk a lot. But whether they're on the court or off the court, they'd be the first to laugh with me right now and go, "Oh, that's me."
Yep.
And then we have some that are very shy and very introverted, And so those players definitely just lead by example. They don't need to be in the mix of being the rah-rah.
Right.
But we do know that volleyball is a game of emotion. And so when we can all find it, whether we're introverts, extroverts, and just believe in one another and have that chemistry when you're out on the court, that's usually the team that's going to come out and succeed at the end. But it is a game of volleyball. So.
Right. So if you guys, are you more of an attacking offensive team? Is defense your strength? You talked about your serve receive, how much that part of your game has improved this season, but how would you typify your team? Is offense the strength? Is it your defense?
I think it's kind of a max of both. I'd like to tell you it's one or the other.
Yeah.
If our defense is on, I feel like we're just going to be competing a lot more.
Right.
Our back row, I feel like, has done a great job of stepping up and fixing some of the holes that we had early in the season. Offensively, we're 5'10". That's our tallest person,
Right.
So when you're competing against teams that, have a lot larger and taller individuals on their team than we do, we know as an offensive team, when we're serving, I feel that we definitely are doing a great job on that. I feel offensively, that is definitely a strength that we've had in the AA schools that we've been playing. But offensively, attacking-wise, we're starting to find it, and we're working on our coverage and getting a lot better at that. But that makes a huge difference. It's usually the team that's going to cover the best. If you're playing a 6'4" girl, 6'5", whatever it may be,
right.
You can cover well. You're still going to be an efficient hitter. So those are things that we've had some holes on that we're working to try to improve upon in our offense. But we know defensively, if we're not connecting on the block, it's going to be a long night.
Right. Yeah, and especially
there are times that is a definite strength for us, and then there are times where there's a big hole.
Right.
And that hole happens is when it's a lot tougher in the back row. So,
what do you guys need as we look right now, and we've kind of talked with every coach as they, last couple of weeks about, hey, how do you gear up these next, the next couple of weeks as we approach the SODAC 16, and I see your next game is against Harrisburg, and right now I know a ton of things probably will change, but right now that would be your SODAC 16 opponent as well. So, what are things you're working on these last week and a half, 10 days heading into that match to qualify for state?
Yeah, to be honest, our day yesterday was a day off. We needed it that for coaches, athletes, and all alike. So moving forward now, it's just taking care of each day as it comes. And with Harrisburg being our first opponent, we know what they do. We've watched them. They've watched us. We're fully aware of what each team has. So it'll be a fun match. I know it will. Like our game with Stevens, that was a strong, fun match for both teams, I would say, with a lot of energy and a lot of scrap balls that came back and forth. So whoever competes best at that point in time is going to really set the tone for going into playoffs. But really, if you look at everybody's schedules, it could sway one day today, next day. So there are really, in some schools like Pierre, they've got all these matches coming up right now. So they're things unknown. So I try not to get caught into that. I just worry about where we're at today, what do we need to work on, where are our holes in our game specifically, and then how can we best prepare ourselves to our next opponent that's coming up. So we know that Harrisburg, it will be a equal matched match. And then we know our Washington one will be a little bit differently in the sense of how we're matched up physically with our body sizes, but hey, we're going to respect each opponent, but we know that we can never overlook or underlook anyone.
Yeah, well, and I would think too that nice measuring stick as you head into the postseason, because your team's going to know Washington. Well, anytime in the AA, it's hard to win matches, and a lot of people don't realize just how hard it is to put teams away in the small margin for error, but it's also nice because you're going to be sharp, hopefully, heading into that SODAC 16, that SODAC 16 round. So I just would assume, like you said, just taking care of little things, fine-tuning little things. Do you do any mental training or attitude? Do you talk to the girls constantly about, hey, here's what it's going to take to get to a state tournament, or we need to work on any part of the mental game, or is it all just scheme and staying healthy and physical?
Well, we talk a lot about what you need to do as an athlete, things that you can control. You can control if you're You can control if you're getting a good night's sleep. You can control when you're out in public, wearing your mask when you need to wear your mask, socially distanced, making good decisions. So if the girls choose to do those things, then those are things that you're already ahead of your opponent, potentially.
Right.
And then in regards to mental side, anybody who knows me, that's kind of how I operate, what I think. So that is definitely something that is included somewhere into there. And I always tell the girls, don't worry about who we're playing. Don't worry about where we're at standing-wise. Don't worry about it being a playoff game, because it really has nothing to do with where you're going to perform and do the best that you can do. So my biggest goal for them is just to come out and compete. Come out and compete and give it everything you have. Obviously, you want to know their strengths and their weaknesses as an opponent, but I don't want to put pressure on a team and make them feel like it has to be this way or that way. But we definitely feel that we're in a good spot right now going into the postseason, and we're going to give it everything we've got and come out there and perform to the best of our abilities.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, that's what I'm like. Everybody just wear your mask. We're getting so close. I mean, I love playoff time. I love brackets. I've always loved that. And so we look at kind of matchups and everything and be like, oh, that would be really close. And especially AA where everybody plays each other, like you had said with Harrisburg. You know what they're going to do. They know what you're going to do. You've seen each other. There aren't a ton of secrets. So it's really about, hey, coming out and who, like exactly like you said, who competes and who plays the best on that given night. Because you're going to be playing, no matter who you play in the postseason, it's going to be a common opponent, right? So it's just about getting them ready to perform at their best, I would assume.
Yeah, and we had early in the season, we've had some players that had to be out for quarantine purposes, and so we've had some pretty strict rules in our school that I think a lot of schools have not. So hopefully going into the postseason and some of these that we won't run into those situations, and we're just going to keep holding our heads up high. And if we do, then we'll figure it out with who we've got. And the beauty is I feel like the girls have all accepted that, and they understand, and they're so grateful to be able to play. Because if you were to talk to a lot of us early in the fall, I mean, we didn't even know what our season would even look like. So to be at this point in the season and have this kind of success with being able to play all the tournaments and the matches throughout the season, like I say, we're very grateful for that. And I would say every athlete is just enjoying the game. Like, it's just fun to say we get to play.
Yeah, that's cool to hear, and I think a lot of us lose perspective of that. That at the end of the day, that's what it should be. That's what it really should be. So it's awesome to hear that you guys are doing that, and that's part of the culture. The culture of your program, which says a lot about you and what you're building. So with that, I know it's middle of school day, so we'll let you back to those things. Thank you, and best of luck. Stay healthy, and I'm sure you guys would love to be playing in the home court in a couple weeks as Brookings is hosting the AA. So I guess good luck, and excited to watch you down the stretch, okay?
That sounds great. Thanks so much, Darren.
Yep, take care. See you, Thanks. Tina. Bye-bye. Okay, everybody. Hey, we're back with our extended edition of Coffee with the Coaches, and this morning we are joined by Jamie Keyser, head coach in Winter. And Jamie, thanks for taking time to talk with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, so you guys are done with your regular season and coming off SESD tournament win last weekend, and so kind of sitting around waiting for your matchup. Just give us a quick rundown of the of the Warriors season so far.
It went a lot better than I thought it was. But you never knew with COVID what exactly was going to go on, so I was a little worried about that. How many matches were going to get canceled or have to be moved and postponed? And for the most part, we didn't really have any problems or really had to deal with a whole lot. Todd County was our only one that they aren't in school or having fall sports, so that was one from the beginning. And then we had our big Dakota that was canceled. But other than that, we pretty much had all our matches, so that was good. COVID hit us a little bit early in September, middle of September, when we were at the Pentagon.
Right.
But other than that, we had a pretty good year. We have, kind of senior loaded, so experience. So that's always good to see. But I thought the year went really well for us. I think we'd like to take back to Pentagon, but Nothing you can do about that. But other than that, it was pretty good.
Yeah, and so let's talk about, looking at your roster, and a lot of these names have been around, with you guys being the last couple state tournaments and great showing last year, and talk about the seniors that have been in some pretty big matches and have kind of been in that spotlight a lot, not volleyball and basketball the last couple of years, but just talk about your athletic senior class.
Yeah, they're really athletic. You have Calla Bertram, who actually the last couple of years has been our middle, and then after Morgan, graduated last year, we moved her to the outside, and she's done a tremendous job for us out there. She's quick, she's smart, she reads things, just does a really good job. She hasn't been playing the back row the last 2 years. We put her in the back row, and she does a great job for us back there. We have Shannon Calhoun, who's kind of been a force at the net. She loves to block, and so she does a nice job there. And then, every once in a while when you don't expect it, or the other teams, I shouldn't say expect it, she does a nice job of hitting for us too, and can kind of sneak some things in when they're really trying to take away Calla or Ellie for us on the outside. So,
right.
She really dominated for us, the last couple of years and really stepped up. And then we have Mckenzie Levi, who's been our setter
right.
for the last 3 years, and she does a great job. She's more quiet than the other ones, but she just gets things done and always seems to put the ball where our hitters need it. And then we have Maggie Lecompte, who has been our lib the last couple of years. She took over when actually Alexis Ritchie blew out her knee, and she did a really good job from there. She's kind of more quiet too for us, but once you get to know her and Mckenzie, they're great kids. They're just quiet. Really don't say much, but they're really competitive and hate losing. So that's good. Then we have Marley Schuyler, who does a nice job for us on the right side this year, and really has kind of stepped up for us there. So senior loaded, nice job. They gel really well together and work really well together. So it's going to be fun that we have for this rest of the season, but really going to miss them next year.
Yeah, we talk about when I look at Mckenzie Levi, just so much. You talked about just being solid, and she's had a great career. Really probably overlooked on the state level, but just has been in some big matches. And you guys talked about how much kind of missed her when she went out for a little bit. Was that in the Pentagon tournament that she?
That was against Kimball,
right.
When she didn't get a play because she was in contact with somebody who had COVID. But she is. She does not get enough credit that she deserves, because she deserves a lot of
right.
credit. It's not easy to be a setter, and a lot of times the setters take a big brunt of when things go wrong. They take a big brunt of what's going on. Not saying it's their fault, but they just seem to always be the ones that get yelled at for it and
right.
things like that. But she does a great job. Like I said, she does an amazing job and doesn't get enough credit for what she does. So, very blessed to have her.
Yeah, and with that 3 years of experience, and I guess I forgot about Maggie filling in for Richie about 3 years ago. It seems like, it seems like a lot longer ago than that. But so she's been with some matches too. And now, how do you talk? Because we joked with them and even talked to you at camp this summer about that. We always hear a vocal, your libero, and then the communication of your setter. So maybe they're not rah-rah, but how do they communicate, or how do they overcome that, just not being, like you had said, they're quiet kids. Those are two really important positions for communication, and those are two solid players. So how do they overcome that, not being big talkers?
Yeah, it was kind of hard right away, just get used to it, especially with coming off or losing Alexis, who is was such a vocal and big part. And your setter and your lib, they're kind of your quarterbacks of your team, and the ones that pretty much lead it for you. And, it took a while, and it took, I think, the team a while, a few years ago to get used to that, to them to be so quiet. And, they say what they need to say, and everybody listens, especially when they do talk. But they still do. I mean, they're still great leaders and whatnot. It's just more quiet.
Right.
And like I said, it took some time to get used to, but they kind of do their little leadership, their quarterback of the team in their own way. I mean, they'll kind of maybe go to somebody and just say, hey, sorry, I'll do this, or hey, can you move this way? Something with the setters, or just kind of work things out quietly rather than more vocal on the team.
Who is the one or the group of that? We kind of ask every coach this. So much, especially in the postseason, will come down to not allowing one mistake to turn into 5 or 6 points. Is this team good at that? Are they still working on that? And if so, who is that one or two that's like, all right, come on? Who is the leader that turns things around when things aren't going well for you guys?
We're still working on that a little bit, on making one mistakes, and we've kind of talked about that all year, and we've gotten a lot better at that. That it seems like at some point in time, one mistake turns into like 5 mistakes in a row, and it's not all by the same person, but it seems like when it kind of comes down, it pours. But we've done a nice job, and I thought of working on that and getting better at figuring that out. But I would have to say Ellie Brozick is our one that says, hey, come on. Between her and I would say, Shannon, when she's in there, it's hard for Shannon because she's, only in there, not in the back, so she only plays 3. But it would be Ellie. She's the one that's, is very, they all listen to her, and she's the one that, is not mean about it, but just says, hey, we can do this, we got to, quit making mistakes, just, take care of some little things and start hitting away and do the little things that we talked about that got us to that point or wherever. But it would be Ellie Brozick.
Right. So what do you, with this squad, because I look up and down, and I remember this summer I was really impressed with Bertram, when they came to camp, and then even at SummerSlam and moving to a new position. And I know you're trying to replace Hammerback, but last year in the state tournament, you guys had multiple weapons for sure that were confident in taking swings. It wasn't just Morgan last year, right? There were, Brozick felt good. With Calhoun would get a set. She had a good state tournament. There were a few different options. Do you have that this year, or is Brozick who you go to in a big match?
I would say we still have that especially between Brozick and Bertram.
Right.
I think when we played Chester, it went 5.
Yeah.
But I think they both had 20-some. I think Ellie had like 27 kills, and I think Kala had like 25, 24, something around there.
Right.
And then you have Shannon, who always throws in a couple, and then
right.
you can't leave out Jenna Hammerbeck either. She's kind of your quiet, but sometimes can be deadly weapon in there that, when we're going to Kala and Ellie all the time, and then all of a sudden you'll throw those other ones in there and give them one, and it gets the other team off guard because they're thinking we're going outside. And
right.
So, you can say that, probably Ellie and Kala are dominant ones, but you can't sag off or cheat and go to them all the time and leave out, Shannon or Jenna. And Jenna's very versatile, and she does a nice job for us there, and doesn't always get enough credit also.
Right.
She last year played the right side. Now she's playing the middle. She's playing the right. When we lost Maggie against Kimball, she came in and stepped up and set for us. So she kind of does whatever we need, and sure does it with a smile on her face. And so she doesn't get enough credit, but she's also one that we can go to and have confidence in her, and that she's going to get a kill for us.
what does this team think? Where are you guys at with how you're playing? I know you had that slump. It just happened to be when you had a couple injuries and Maggie out. A couple of your best players, and then boom, you get 4 matches in a day, and probably some of your tougher competition all at once. So you probably didn't get a true measuring stick of where you're at as a team. How have you been playing? How has this team been playing the last couple weeks? Are you playing better than you have all year? Are you peaking at the right time? Do you still have things you need to get improve on? Where are you guys at, or where have you been at?
I think there's always something you can get better. I think we are peaking. I thought when we played Chester, that was a very competitive,
Right.
very good match. Could have went either way. Of course, unfortunately, it didn't go our way. But I was very proud, even though we lost. I was very proud of how the girls stepped up and played, against a great team, because we didn't have everybody at the Pentagon, and we never got to see some of that competition. So when we got to play Chester, I thought we showed up and played, and I was a little worried because sometimes we like to play to our opponents' level and not to the level that we want to play. We seem to kind of do that. But then when we know it's a big team, then they always step up. They're gamers, they're competitive, and so there's a few times that I haven't been the happiest with them just because they haven't come out and played to their potential. And I keep telling them, I wouldn't, if I wasn't mad or didn't get mad at you guys, then I wouldn't care. But you guys have so much potential, and I don't really think sometimes they see how much potential they have if they would just come out and take care of business. Like I said, it would make my life easier, and I wouldn't have as much gray hair. But that's girls for you. But for the most part, I think especially after the SCSD and the way we played and came out and beat everybody in 2 sets and didn't go to a 3. I think for we're playing to we're going up. We're playing to our peak or getting to that point. I think there's still a little things we can do, and with having a bye first round, that'll be kind of nice that we've gotten some nice practice time in and to work on some of those. And biggest thing is mentally be ready, right? No matter who we play.
Well, and one thing, we talked a couple years ago, and after the state tournament. You guys left disappointed, like we didn't play our best volleyball. And then you go in last year and it just happened the way PowerPoints you just had, ended up playing the state champs right away, right? And it an amazing match, but you walked away, even though you're disappointed, the girl wanted to play a big time team, right? Like that was the mentality last year, I think, of that team is, hey, we'll play anybody and we need to play better than we did last year at state. Now, I know you can't look ahead at state, but there's a million different scenarios, but it could be something like a matchup like a Dakota Valley or something right away at state. Is this team ready? Do they have kind of that chip like, hey, we were that close last year. All of us were in the state tournament last year. We are going to get those extra couple points to get us over the hump? Or are they like, what's the attitude of this team compared to last year?
They're hungry, they're ready. Like the last 2 years, they weren't, not saying happy with the way they played, but, they weren't happy. And I think, it was just a bad draw to see Sioux Falls Christian first.
Right.
But it is the way it is. You can't change it, nothing you could do. And I thought they did a really good job last year of going out and being like, we're going to give it our all. And they did. I mean, we went 5 sets with them, and I think, we tried our hardest and, just didn't come out. But, and the other day when we were talking, like you said, you don't ever want to look past the first one, but, you just kind of see, and all the girls say is, to be the best, you got to beat the best. So it doesn't matter when you do it. We just got to go out and play, and whoever we get matched up with is who we get matched up with, and it's not going to change. And so there's no point in dwelling on it or being like, oh, we got bad luck, or, that's not fair. It's the way it is, and you're not going to change it. So you got to keep a positive attitude. And so they were like, well, whoever we get, and we just got to go out and play, because if you want to be the best, you got to beat them all. So
right. Well, what do you guys think? And kind of wrapping up here, I mean, I'm assuming staying healthy is probably number one, but is it rest? Is it? I mean, with you guys having a longer break than most teams, and your season already being done, what have you been doing? What will you continue to do before Tuesday? Or Thursday. Is it Tuesday or Thursday that you guys play?
Thursday now because we have a bye first round. So we'll play Thursday. But go over the little things. Talk about all the little things, especially mentally. A lot of times, sometimes mental can be our worst enemy. And so, we just talked about that. And if you make a mistake, that's fine. We just got to move on from it. Nothing you can do. But try not to make that mistake again. And, just keep those. And it's always been, we need to be the attacker. We try to get the other team out of system. And so we've, keep working on that stuff. Serve, receive. Sometimes we can be really good at serve, receive. And sometimes we can, really struggle at serve, receive. So we've been doing a lot of that. We've been doing a lot of more team stuff, in practice, and it's a lot easier. I mean, I wouldn't say easier, but, now that it's just varsity, we can really concentrate just on a lot of the things that we need to work on. So that's been kind of nice. It's always a fun time of year. You got football that's doing really well for us right now, so that just kind of brings everybody up in the whole community, brings the girls up here. It's kind of nice that, you're winning, it's kind of contagious. So, like you said, the football team's doing a nice job and winning, and they're, now into the third round. And so, it's just exciting. So the girls see that and they just want to do that. But we've just talked about one match at a time, one set at a time, 1 point at a time. We got to just worry about the next point. Can't think ahead and just take care of what we can take care of at that time.
Right. Well, Coach, definitely winter is synonymous with postseason experience. No matter what the sport, and your girls have had success, football team, just athletics in general. Postseason is a big time in winter in that community every year. Wish you the best of luck. Stay healthy. Thanks for talking with us, and definitely excited. Hope to get to see you in what I think will be a very competitive, very balanced Class A tournament in Watertown in a couple weeks. So thanks for taking time. Best of luck to you, and hopefully we see you in Watertown soon, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right.